Welcome to High Peaks Home, where it's my goal to teach you about all the inner workings of the home. And in this episode, we're going to talk about erecting a timber frame in a pre-existing house, all the things you should look out for, and all the things that I did in this particular scenario. And what is this? This is Frankie, the Journey of the Abandoned House, episode 27. The space we're standing in right now is going to be the dining area. And this is the area that I started in first, because I wanted to work my way towards the living room area because that's where the biggest beam is going in. And I wanted to get all this sorted out. I want to kind of get my system in play before I tackle a beam that's 20 feet long. So let me show you how I got to this point. Morning! So I have part of the timber frame up. It's exciting. Got a post over there. We have a stud bank over here and a big beam going across here. Way up there. 9-foot ceilings, a little more challenging. Well, let me show you the intricacies of it. All right, now you can see how the joint fits together, as I was describing last week. And now we're going to bring a beam in through here and land it right there on that little ledge there. If you look down the beam, then you can see way over there the little stud bank. How I frame that in. So I was struggling getting that beam up there, right? And a couple of things are going on. And let me show you what I did wrong and how we're gonna fix it. So this beam here, or this post here, right? I have this nice and plumb, so it's absolutely vertical. Now, this wall here is way out of plumb. It is pitched that way. So when I brought this to plumb, it pulled it out of this wall cavity. Now I originally designed this so that it goes all the way to the inside of this wall cavity. And what happened was, once this came in plumb, I didn't take that distance of the material out of the beam. I'll show you on the back side here, it might make more sense. All right, you see up there how it's inside of the wall instead of flush with the outside of it? That's what I'm talking about. So now, when I'm trying to set that far end into its pocket, it won't go because the beam is too long. So now I have a couple of options. One, I can take the beam down and deepen that pocket so that that comes out, so that it ends up being flush with this wall. Or I cut the depth of that distance out of the tenon so that the piece goes upright. The problem with that is that tenon's not terribly big to begin with. It's only there just to stabilize the joint. So I think I'm gonna have to take that beam back down. I'm going to show you the other items that I was negotiating with when I was installing this. So the beam here itself has a pretty wicked crown going this direction. And when I went to go install it, she was hitting this girder here in the center of the building. And this, if you remember from a previous episode, I put a lot of time into suspending this guy. I'm going to go up there, cut some access holes, different locations, and put some framing in to tie this ceiling up to the trusses. I'm up in the attic space. And in fact, there's one of the braces right there. And when I was getting this guy up in there, because of the crown of this, it just was not going. So I had to cut a little bit out of the center of the girder and get that removed. And then I was able to get this guy to go up in there. Now, one of the other things to deal with this, the crown here, was the length of this post. Because it comes off that post at a pretty sharp crown. I mean, you can't see it with a naked eye unless you really look down it, but it comes up to this point almost 3/8 of an inch, just from that edge to this edge. So what that meant is that this post was now a little bit too short. So I just took a couple of cedar shims and I wedged them or bypassed them underneath, and that'll be fine. The 3/4 inch flooring that's gonna be next to it will completely cover that up. And, oh yeah, so this ceiling joist here, because this is all, 1890s rough cut lumber, it had a pretty good wave in it. So I had to trim the bottom of that off, and then she was able to pop right up in there. Then went ahead and shimmed where I cut the girder to give it a little bit more meat there, and then when I lowered the jack, it just put all that tension right on the beam, which is right where I wanted it. So it turned out perfect. I'm really excited about it. The only thing I have to do now is trim this off here so we can get the sheetrock in there. But that can be done later. I want to keep on timber framing. Keep on keeping on. Family movie night segment. The last time we did this was episode 24, I believe, and it was a challenging one. Now, I'll admit, I went a little far on how obscure I went with the actual reference, but somebody did get it, and it was, what was the name of that? Honey Hollow Homestead. Nicely done. Wow, you'll have to excuse all the man glitter. Jeepers. Timber framing, it's, messy work. Anywho, this week, we're gonna do it again. And I think this one's gonna be a lot easier for you guys to get. Let's find out. Hey, Sean. So, I see we got a lot going on here, but I haven't seen anything actually completed yet. You got a lot going on. There's, staircase, siding, timber, insulation. What's the deal?
So what I believe you were trying to say is, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait.
Okay.
I'm here to say thank you.
I see what's happening, yeah. You're face to face with solutions and it's strange. You don't even know how you feel. It's adorable. It's nice to see homeowners can recognize. Open your eyes, let's begin. Yes, it's really me, it's Sean, breathe it in. I know it's a lot, the tools and the plans. When you're staring at a tradesman, can I say except you're welcome for the journey, the how-to and solutions. Hey, it's okay, it's welcome. I'm just an ordinary trades guy. Hey, What has two thumbs and pull up a foundation? When you were worried, this guy. When the nights got cold, who insulated your home? You're looking at him, yo! Oh! Also, I opened up the walls to bring in the sunshine. I recorded it all, you're welcome, to show you where it all begun. What can I say except you're welcome for all the content free. There's no need to be dismayed. It's okay, you're welcome. I guess it's just my way of being me. You're welcome, you're welcome. Well, come to think of it, I could go on and on. I can explain most anything. Tooling, framing, timbers, that's just Sean messing around. I took out some walls, I framed it up, and now you have more space to play around. What's the lesson? One is a notion. Don't mess with Sean when he's on a renovation. And the video is here on the tube. It's all for you. Leave a comment, say hello. Tickety-tackety, tickety-tackety. Hey, you're welcome. For the free content below. It's okay, you're welcome. So come on in and enjoy the show. It's okay to say you're welcome. Where is my phone? I'm gonna need that to call the plumber. But Sean does everything but that. You're welcome. And thank you for subscribing.
All right, now you saw how I erected it. Now I'm going to tell you why I put things in the places that I put them. So we have this big beam here, and then this one over here. Simply put, this one went in just to eliminate a wall that existed here, and there was a wall here as well. Now, neither one of these walls were truly load-bearing, but in the original orientation of the house, they probably were. But after all the different iterations that this thing has been through, they ended up not being. There used to be a third story on this building, and that was removed. I don't know exactly why. I think it was a fire issue, but they took that story off and they put trusses up there. Now, when you put trusses on a building, the truss is designed to take all the snow load, all the water load, the roof load, everything there, and put it on the eave ends. So when you're working on a house that has trusses, you automatically have a little more wiggle room. Now, you should always get an engineer to confirm everything you're doing. This has a full set of engineering drawings on it. Now, what I wanted to do was eliminate, obviously, these two walls. Well, how should I have done this? Well, I could have cut all these floor joists or ceiling joists and put LVLs up inside there and fasten them all up so I have nice smooth ceiling all the way around. I could have done that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that for two reasons. One, everything in this house is built in 1890s. So the dimensions of the lumber are a little bit wonky. It's all rough cut, and it's all hand drive nails. So there's a lot of flex that happens. So I decided I'd rather have an exposed timber frame, and that's what I went with. Now, the exposed timber frame will give me a couple of benefits. One, it's going to make this whole ceiling system a lot more rigid than if I just put in the LVLs. And quite honestly, I think it's beautiful. I love the way timber frames look. Now, with 9-foot ceilings, they pretty much kind of disappear as it is. So, I mean, once sheetrock is up, they're going to become a feature, no doubt. But with a 9-foot ceiling, it really just puts them up out of the way. And so you don't really lose any headroom. So for this scenario, it really was the best solution that I could come up with. Now I understand why. Now, the how. When installing a timber frame, now I already established that load bearing isn't that big of a concern in this scenario because of the trusses, really. We keep going back to the trusses. Now, originally, when I purchased this place, the trusses weren't actually attached to the building. There were a couple of toenails on the eave ends, and that was it. In the center here, nothing was attached. And you can go back to a previous episode where I get into that. If I were to do something now at this phase, I could make it easier to install the timber frame that's going to be going in here. With that all said, now, all this material still weighs something. We're still going to put insulation inside, so all that weighs a lot of weight. Even though my drawings show that I don't have to be that concerned about it. So, I'd rather err on the side of caution and just do it the right way. And what that means is that if we're going to say that this is a load and all these are a load, the load needs to get transferred into the posts. When you transfer the load into the post, you have to hit dirt. You can't just hit sheathing on a floor and think it's going to survive. You can't just hit a floor joist and think it's going to survive. You've got to hit dirt. So underneath this is another beam. It's in the basement. Underneath this location, underneath that beam, is a post going straight to a footing. We're going to have, where there was a wall above us here, we're putting a post and beam in, and so you have to transfer that load all the way down. So there's that one. Dirt, okay? Load to dirt. That one is directly above the foundation wall that we put the pipe through last week. So, load, dirt. Same thing over on this corner. We have this post here that's going into a triple stack stud, which goes into a 3-lam beam or joist, and then that's going to dirt. So that one's all set. This one has very little load on it, but I still have a post right there. So we have posts, we have beams, everything is going from load to dirt. And that's really the easiest rule I can give you guys. If you're going to consider doing something like this or having it done, get your load, get it to the dirt. Typically on a timber frame, what you would do is you would pre-assemble your components to your wall. You'd stand that wall up, and then you'd brace it off or whatever you're going to need to do to hold it there while you assemble the next wall and get it stood up. And because you're in a pre-existing home, you can't exactly do that. You've got to do it piece by piece, which means you have to sacrifice joinery. So I did a real basic tenon slip joint on that far side, and this is going to be a lap joint over here. So when we put this beam up, it'll be set in there. So I have to put these pieces in piece by piece, right? So when I put this beam up, the ceiling had a little bit of a sag in her, so I had to put this jack in to get that to push up. And I just have a little bracket on the back side here, just tacking it up there for now. And it'll be fine to sit like this over the weekend. Yeah, there you have it, piece by piece. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, if you can't tell, I had a lot of fun making that whole segment, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's fine. So if you got any comments about this week's video, the timber frame, or the segment, that's fine. Throw a comment down below, and I look forward to hearing from you. But speaking of that, I want to take a moment to thank Barry over at Empty Hammock for accepting my challenge, because it's on, brother. And if you don't know what the challenge is, go ahead and check out Barry's video at Empty Hammock, and it'll describe the whole thing. Basically, I challenged Barry to a race. Me finishing Frankie and him finishing his retro reno that he's in. It's going to be a good time. I look forward to the banter between him and I during this whole thing, and between me and the community and you guys, man, when you came over, it was awesome. Like my subscriptions tripled, almost, not quite. It's getting there. And it's it's a lot of fun watching you guys say that you're Team Barry. It's it's fun. I'm enjoying it. So if you got any other comments, throw them on down below. And until next week, thanks for stopping by High Peaks Home. Timbers?